Be well. Joining me now, Guy Lewis, former U.S. attorney and prosecutor. So much to talk about, Guy. Let me start with what Peter raised. Well, let me begin with it's not like they're sitting out in the street. Joe Biden's remark about the documents that were found next to his Corvette in the locked garage. Well, they might as well have been sitting in the street, because being in a garage is not, it doesn't matter, because they're still in violation of national security policy if they're not in a secure location. Correct?
100% correct, Dagan. That's the lamest defense, the lamest excuse I've ever heard. I guess keeping them inside the garage next to your 67 Corvette somehow makes them safer. I don't think so. I think with the appointment of a special counsel, the stakes have gotten very high for the President of the United States.
What do you make of what Peter raised, the statement that was made on Tuesday, that it was either incomplete at best, misleading at worst, knowing what we know now as of Thursday?
Clearly, Peter nailed them. I mean, look, if I'm advising the president and the press spokesperson, my advice is simple. Tell the truth. Tell the truth and be honest and be complete with it. Look, what do we know? We know that the first batch of documents were found in November, right before the midterm elections. They held on to that, suppressed that information. That stinks to high heaven. We know that they've now found 2 other batches. And this is look, God bless him, but this is the president who came out when they were going through the Mar-a-Lago and raking Trump over the coals, came out and said, look, he's reckless, he's irresponsible. How could he do it? Look, I put the questions right back to the President of the United States. How could you do it?
When you have a special counsel looking into the handling of classified documents, that is an investigation into criminal wrongdoing, is it not, Guy?
You are 100% correct again, Dagan. Look, this special prosecutor is going to go in, and he, a former U.S. attorney who was appointed by President Trump up in Maryland, he's going to want to know 2 things in particular, in my view, based on my experience. Number one, how the heck did the documents get into these various non-secure locations? One, this so-called think tank, I don't know, a think tank, a Biden think tank in his office in downtown D.C., and the second up into his home, and I'd want to know how the documents got there. Did somebody take them, by mistake? Maybe it happened. Or did somebody sneak them out of the president's office, that kind of thing? Those are the things that I'd want to know, Dagan.
But you have if you're explaining you're losing, and you have a statement from the special counsel to the president that reads, we are confident that a thorough review will show that these documents were inadvertently misplaced, and the president and his lawyers acted promptly upon the discovery of this mistake. It's an admission. Why put that in writing? And just Karine Jean-Pierre this afternoon, it was over and over again, talking and talking, losing and losing. Surprise, 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 surprise. But why would you admit that in writing? And why would you continue to talk about it? Because it's very clear a vice president, and Joe Biden, as the vice president leaving office, has zero power to declassify documents, and he has zero authority to hold any classified documents at all in a private office or in a private home.
Absolutely. Despite many saying, "Oh, it's a lot different from Trump," the only difference is Trump was the president, and as you point out, could declassify. Biden was the vice president, had no authority to declassify according to the Supreme Court. And it also shows me, which is I think your main point, is these group of people sure don't have their ducks in a row in any way, shape, or form.
And it's going to raise politically, Guy, a whole host of issues. The New York Post was reporting back in October, and it's an extensive article written by Stephen Nelson, that the Secret Service checked not once, but over and over again. It has no records that identify, this was in October, that identify any visitors to President Biden's Delaware residences where he has spent about 1/4 of his presidency. So they're classified documents at his Delaware residence, and they have no record of comings and goings at that residence in the last 2 years.
Listen, if the special counsel does his job, and I have no reason to think he won't do his job, he's going to have people in there with FBI agents present, taking notes, explaining exactly what you have just asked, those very, very good questions that you just asked. And frankly, I want to know why he had the documents in the first place. Is there any political or financial reason why he should have these documents? He shouldn't have them, but if he's got them, why in the heck do you have them? Tell us.
Again, it's the Jerry Lundegaard defense from Fargo, and a different crime, obviously. He hired,
right.
Hired some idiots to kidnap his wife. But, I'm cooperating here. That's not going to get you out of trouble. So to say, I misplaced them, well, you shouldn't have had them. Period.
Shouldn't have
and
had
now
them in
you're
the
in
first
trouble.
place, period.
And because and I'm going to wrap with this guy, but the fact that Joe Biden went in front of a camera on 60 Minutes and lambasted President Trump about the same thing, does that hurt him in any way in this special counsel investigation?
Dagan, it's hypocrisy at its best. And that's never plays well in a criminal investigation when I was doing this, certainly.
Yeah, good to see you. Thank you so much. I'm sure we'll continue to talk about this.